KTTZ-TV Channel 5 presents 24 Frames, taking you inside music, art, and entertainment in the Hub City and beyond. Tonight on 24 Frames, we sit down with a Texas Tech professor and librarian who collaborated on a book project featuring a famous web-slinging superhero. We visit with an Austin band looking to make it big and who also have some local ties back to Lubbock. And we sit down with some of the toughest critics around. Hello, I'm your host Paul Hunton, and welcome to 24 Frames, a show that profiles artists, showcases musicians, and brings you all the happenings in the Hub City. Speaking of which, Culture Clothing here in Lubbock specializes in affordable chic. Recently, they collaborated with regional artist Andrew Merritt to spice up the look of their building and to add a little flair downtown.
I guess a lot of things can be called art, but at the same time, like, what we're doing merges two markets of fashion and art. There's a huge community here that appreciates art, and those are the people that I want to know, hey, you know, we want more of that in Lubbock. We want more people that appreciate art, and at the same time, aren't afraid to challenge what art really is and understand it, you know. And I really think that it brings a culture to Lubbock that may not be here otherwise. And it's not about competing against cultures or against art taste. I think it's more about bringing the community together and, you know, and just showing that, you know, something as simple as a painting on the side of the wall, which is not simple by any means, but something like that is going to get appreciated by people who aren't into art and by people who love art, and they're going to see it and appreciate it for different reasons. And so I'm excited to be able to contribute to that any way we can.
Even whenever I was little, my parents asked me, you know, like, are you going to be an artist? Or, you know, like, I'd go to church or whatever and, like, you know, doodle in the things. And, oh, are you going to be an artist when you grow up? And I always, like, remember telling people, like, no. Whenever I was that age too, I had like this really huge need to fit in because I was kind of the outsider. So I mean, like, I look at pictures and I was like, man, that is totally not me. And I mean, like, I could tell because like I wasn't painting and stuff as much as I needed to be. Because I mean, like, whenever I got to thinking about it, I was like, okay, like I had no clue who I was. I started looking at pictures. Like one day I was like, I was wearing cowboy boots. The next day I was like wearing some like Nike or like Adidas like big high top sneakers. Like it was like, I had no clue who I was. Because it's not really Southwest, and it's like, you know, not really country in any way, but it's kind of like that. I wanted it to kind of feel like if Bob Dylan would have done a painting that was subjective, like I wanted it to feel like, you know, something like that. Talk about it a whole lot. Like people ask me and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm a painter. Like I still struggle with the word artist. Like it's like, makes me kind of sound, you know, pretentious or whatever, and that's like, you know, like as an artist, which is flattering for me, like whenever people call me that, because I'm like, oh, thank you, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, I haven't earned it yet, man. Like, I don't know, like,
What would be earning it?
oh man, seems like dying is big in the art world. Hands and faces, they're like my favorite thing to draw. I could draw all day, but they're also like they're the most sensitive, I guess. You gotta really, put everything together right. If I wanted to be remembered, tomorrow, like for something that I did, I'm going to do that today.
Recently, I sat down at Wild Burger Grill to talk with Dr. Rob Peasley and Texas Tech librarian Rob Weiner, who collaborated on a book called Web Spinning Heroics about Spider-Man's influence on pop culture. So recently you guys brought into being a new book called Web Spinning Heroics, and tell me a little bit about that. I'm going to assume it involves Spider-Man somehow.
It does. We got together, I guess, about 3 years ago now when we first started talking about it. We're thinking, realizing that a collection like that really hadn't been done. Collection meaning essays from different authors brought together under the auspices of a single book to discuss one topic, and that hadn't been done with Spider-Man really to our satisfaction. So we thought, well, let's give it a shot.
What impact has Spider-Man had on popular culture?
Well, considering that Spider-Man is one of the big three, okay, which includes Batman and Superman and Spider-Man as being the most well-recognized superhero in the world, okay? I would venture to say that you could probably go to very few places in the world except maybe the jungles of Africa or South America, and if you explain to somebody the concept of Spider-Man, they're going to know what that is, whether they've read a comic, seen the movies, played a video game,
or seen a lunchbox, who knows? It's everywhere. From my perspective, the key to that is that while you could argue, I think, that Batman and Superman are the true identities of the dualities that are Batman, Bruce Wayne, Superman, and Clark Kent, that the other two are just covers for their true identities. With Spider-Man is sort of what Peter has to do in order to, fulfill his destiny, but he's really always Peter. And to me, that's where that relatability comes from, is that he, even when he's got that suit on, he's still wisecracking, and he's got that teenage sort of sarcastic sensibility, and I think that's really relatable. And I think too that it's not a coincidence if you think, historically in terms of popular culture, that Spider-Man really comes into his own as a popular culture character through comic books in the 1960s and 1970s.
You can find the book Web Spinning Heroics at Amazon.com. For more on this interview, go to KTTZ.org. And remember, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at 24FramesKTTZ. Coming up next, we visit with a young Austin band with ties back to the Hub City. There's plenty of 24 Frames when we return. Don't go anywhere.
It's time for 24 Frames Trivia. In which order did these shows come out on television? Happy Days, Leave It to Beaver, The Brady Bunch, and The Love Boat. The answer when we return to 24 Frames. So in which order did these shows come out on television? The answer is first, Leave It to Beaver, then Brady Bunch, Happy Days, then finally The Love Boat. Now back to 24 Frames.
Jeremy Burchard was the drum captain at Coronado High School here in Lubbock before heading off to college at the University of Texas in Austin. It was there where he met Jenica Scott and the Longhorn Band, and together they started Moonlight Social. With a mix of alternative rock and Texas country, this up-and-coming band has made a splash, not only in Austin, but on a national level as well. This is their hit single, Heading South. And make sure to stick around after the song, because I recently sat down with Jeremy and Jenica in Austin to talk about their music.
Just keep heading south until I'd rather be anywhere else. Here I go, looking for me down an old dirt road. Wish I'd find what I want and what I need to be the same just once this time.
Tell me how Moonlight Social formed.
So we started just kind of under the, the premise of just going out and playing music and having fun. And after the show, like something really kind of clicked. People were really like, "So what's the name of your band?" And we were like,
What band?
"Yeah, we're not a band. Are we a band? Do you want to be a band?" And then
Kind of went from there.
from there, yeah, we went over
I
Christmas
pick a
break.
band name. That was.
Yeah, picked the
I was
band
like,
name.
what do you want to be called? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you just draw a bunch of stuff and pull a name out of a hat? Did you go to Google search?
We
How
had
did it
some.
come from?
We did have some options. I had come up with a few things, and I pitched some ideas to her, and we kind of whittled down the ones that we wanted, and then I kind of talked about, we kind of talked about some of the meanings and what we really like to, what we want to get across with a name. Because a lot of people just come up with a name, and they come up with something because it's funny, or there are bands out there. They just, nowadays everything's a name. It's like racing horses.
Yeah.
They go all the way back to 1800s. So it's we sat down and we decided on a name that we think has a lot of meaning to it. And do you want me to explain the meaning?
Do you want to explain the meaning?
I mean, the short
Let's
form.
keep it mysterious.
Yes,
No,
we'll keep it
we're gonna
mysterious.
Yeah.
mysterious.
Yeah,
You can guess.
you can find it
it's whatever
somewhere.
it means to you.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
you go. That's
exactly.
good. I like that. I want to keep it a mystery.
Yeah, cool.
So now you guys have your first debut album. Has it been has it been a struggle, or have y'all mostly kind of just grown naturally and you're just taking off?
I don't think it happened without a struggle. It was definitely. I think the hardest thing for me was balancing this new music commitment that I made with my school. It was a huge time management thing for me. I had to kind of rearrange priorities and figure out what was important and how to honor all my responsibilities and stuff. But I think the process of getting through the album was just wonderful, and it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun, and I think we got something really great out of it.
Do you feel that having a band right now in the age of the digital music, it's a digital era, is that beneficial to get your music to a wider audience?
I think that we've definitely learned how to utilize social media to spread our name and spread our music. We do a lot on Facebook and Twitter. Our YouTube account, we in the past 3 or 4 months have started really pushing that to people, and I think that it does it works really well to get new people to hear your music, because there aren't that many people that'll just drop everything to go out and hear this new band now. That's not something that people do all the time, and I think more people do it in Austin because it's the live music capital of wherever, but
Of Austin.
of the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the music capital of Austin. Yeah.
Right here in Austin.
But yeah, I think that the social media and having stuff heavily online based has definitely helped to make it easier to spread our music and spread our name and even get word out about shows and stuff.
I think, as far as social media has always been, it's a means, it's not an end. So the goal is not to have thousands and thousands and thousands of likes and hundreds of thousands of watches and stuff. That's just, it's one way to reach fans. I still personally believe that you make the most quality fans by playing a show and them seeing you. Those are quality fans, but you do make great fans, and you make people from all across the world that couldn't otherwise access it in the digital realm. And I mean, our EP is a great example of that. We did that in my house using all of my equipment. I played all the instruments, and we were just doing it as we could, and we used nothing but the internet to help get it out. So you can't argue with results, I guess. So it's great. I hope people don't rely too much on it, and I hope that we never end up trying to rely too much on it. But it is an incredible way to reach people who otherwise couldn't find your stuff.
Well, the album sounds great. I'm a big fan of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being on the show, Moonlight Social.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
Coming up after the break, we hear from two of the toughest movie critics you'll ever meet. Stick around. More 24 Frames coming up.
It's time for 24 Frames Trivia. Which film is this line from? Nobody puts baby in a corner. Was it A, Roadhouse, B, Ghost, C, Dirty Dancing, or D, Point Break? The answer when we return to 24 Frames. So, which line is this from? Nobody puts baby in a corner. The answer is C, Dirty Dancing. The famous scene from this film where Johnny and Baby crawl toward each other on the floor was not actually supposed to be in the film, but was just a warm-up Swayze and Gray were doing. But the director liked it so much, he put it in the movie. Now, back to 24 Frames.
Tonight, in our Critics Corner, two up-and-coming movie critics give us their take on some of their favorite recent films.
Merida. And she doesn't like her mom because her mom is a queen, and she's not mean. She's trying to be nice and
she's trying to tell her what a princess really does, and she doesn't want to do what a princess really does.
She wants to just shoot arrows. One day she followed the wisps, and the wisp later to this little house, and then that's when she made the little cake for her mom.
The mom turned into a bear, and the cake, and the little siblings ate the cake, and they turned into little bears. Oh, I
know.
the zebra.
The zebra.
Zebra.
And like this big afro.
Okay, Apple
So.
He sang Apple Circus, Apple Circus.
Polka dot, afro.
And he wore the little puffy thing that was rainbow.
Yeah, that's afro.
That's all.
Sounds good.
That's all? We're done?
Can we get off our chairs?
Yeah, Katie, you need to get the mic off your
I am flaming hot.
Thanks for joining us on 24 Frames. For more on this edition and all the productions here on Channel 5, visit KTTZ.org. If you have a story idea or know a local artist, musician, or filmmaker we should profile, send me an email at paul.hunton@ttu.edu. And remember, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For 24 Frames, I'm Paul Hunton. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
You've got that smile that lights up a room. You never heard notes the day you were born.